So here we are, Fort McAllister historical site. It's very humid. Hurricane is just south of us. So we're hoping that it's going to go way south of Savannah. But we're in site 49. There is two 30 amp sockets. We don't have the Y connector to make two 30s into a 50. Wish I had that. We could run both ACs, but we'll probably just do without. We have been all along. But this is it. This is our next home for the next 3 days. 3 nights, 2 days. Love all the moss and the trees. You really know you're in Georgia when you see all that moss. See all that moss in there. A lot of palmetto palms too. All out there, palmettos. There's the lady. So this is first stop on our walk today towards we're walking to the Fort Richardson Fort, which is a historical mark.
Fort McAllister.
McAllister, okay. And we're on top of this signal. What was it? Signal
Signal tower.
Signal tower. Almost on top. We're in the middle. Signal tower.
It's a
Looking out.
reconstruction. This tower stands in place of a similar one built on this location after the capture of Fort McAllister. Federal forces constructed the tower shortly after the battle for the purpose of setting up an easily visible signal flag station. The bent metal rail located next to the tower is an example of Sherman's neckties. Number 3 is the Greenway. Greenway, extending between the fort and the museum, once held rows of tents and were the primary sleeping quarters for the lower enlisted men. The men garrisoned at Fort McAllister did not usually sleep within the mounds themselves, but would only do so in the rare situation of an imminent naval assault. These huts simulate quarters for non-commissioned officers. There would have originally been 16 such huts extending towards today's museum. Unlike the lower enlisted men who slept on the Greenway, these offered some protection from the elements. Each hut had 4 bunks, a stovepipe oven, and straw beds. A reproduction of a similar building that would have stood here, the barracks mimics the construction style similar to many coastal plantation houses and would have housed officers as well as the commander of the fort. The current house is a cement tabby construction. However, the original structure was wooden and oversaw operations for this portion of the plantation before the war. This reproduction simulates a blacksmith station. While there was no original blacksmith here on site, this structure provides insight to the tools of the trade of which so many soldiers relied on and of which would have been present on surrounding plantation grounds. The bridge. Because of the high elevation of the bluff on Genesis Point, The deep moat surrounding the fort never held water. Instead, the Confederates reinforced the moat with palisades. Palisades, they're called palisades. A sharpened wooden fence you see today. This obstacle was meant to slow down a land attack by forcing the enemy to break down the palisades before reaching the mounds. These grounds are considered to be the center of activity when the fort was idle, not under fire. But during attacks, this open area could be a dangerous place. At the peak of operation, the garrison held nearly 300 men. However, that number had decreased to about 120 for the Battle of Fort McAllister on December 13, 1864. Number 9, the hot shotgun. This 32-pounder gun was designated to fire heated cannonballs at wooden ships to set them ablaze, turning it into a very effective weapon. The gun is a smooth bore and typical of the 32-pounders that were originally emplaced in the fort. So aim at the end of the barrel. My face would fit in there. My whole head wouldn't, but my face would. It's pretty significant too.
We got the corkscrew right there to raise it or lower.
For aiming?
Yeah. The windage.
Bloodiness. So this is the hot shot furnace.
I'm gonna walk down here.
So this is where they would go down this tunnel. Oh man, that's dark. And that's where they would get the hot shotgun would then retrieve the cannonballs from the back of the furnace using large metal tongs via the tunnel located between the cannon and the furnace.
Well, there's the furnace.
So they would poke their tongs in there.
Yeah.
And then have to carry them all this way. That's creepy. Still just the furnace, just the front half. So they put the cannonballs in on this side. So they would stoke and manage the fire from here and load the cannonballs. And then the guys would go around that tunnel we were on the other side and grab them and take them up to the cannon. Central bomb-proof. This structure was used as a hospital and supply area for most of the war, and most men admitted were either stricken with malaria or suffered burns from operating the cannons and explosive materials. Officers would sleep inside this structure in the event of an imminent naval assault, preferring its relative underground safety to the open spaces around the barracks and huts. Enter the bomb-proof and look around. Be careful of low beams as you explore the building. After exiting, turn right, walk up 2 flights of stairs to number 12. Did you put the line in?
Yeah.
Watch your head.
There's a bed. Actually, a few beds. Candle.
I see daylight. No, is that reflection?
There's a can.
Dang, that is like way back there. I'm still at the doorway.
The light didn't work.
Probably gotta throw this breaker over here.
Piss pot. All right.
Well, yeah, if you're being bombed, you're not gonna wanna go out and go to the bathroom. Watch your head on this one. I'm not going any farther. Oh, there's all the bunks. Wouldn't it be freaky if they... I see 1, 2, 3. Is there a fourth one down there? It looks like a mirror. It just goes on forever.
All these,
There's a fourth. How many more?
I'll count them on my way back. There's a fireplace down here. And then the end. It just ends right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 9 rows of 2 bunks.
Wow. We were like way back in. There's some other people walking in. In action while commanding the fort during the second attack of the Monitor Montauk, Major John B. Galley, February 1st, 1863. The 32-pounder beside which he was standing was struck while Galley was going from gun to gun, encouraging his men to calmness of. That's what the rest of the story.
Okay.
During the first bombardment, one of the guns on the parapet was struck by a shell fired from a Union vessel, causing the piece to explode. A large metal plate from the gun struck the fort's first commander, Major John B. Galley. He was killed instantly when it removed the top half of his head. His position was filled by Major George W. Anderson. So 2.5 miles straight out that way is the Chef's Cheves rice mill. General Sherman and his staff watched the reduction of Fort McAllister, sunset December 13, 1864. So he sat across that way in the rice mill and watched this place get flattened. Inch shells penetrated 17 feet of sand, digging craters 8 foot in diameter and 7 feet deep on exploding. But all the damage could be repaired overnight. Placement was one of the 4 positions of the original battery. During several naval assaults, this position was continuously bombarded in order to knock the piece out of action. While it was struck on several different occasions, any damages would be fixed virtually overnight by the Confederates.
The Columbia fired 87-pound shells. Its range was 2,500 yards.
This is a reconstruction of the service magazine which held shells, powder, fuses, and implements for the 32-pounder rifled gun. You can reach the location of where the rifled gun would have been by taking the short tin trail to the immediate right of the powder magazine. Eastern Bastion. In January 1864, the rear defenses were strengthened under the orders of General P.G.T. Beauregard. The eastern bastion was added during this time. Light field guns were brought in to help defend against land assaults. This improvement would prove invaluable during the Battle of Fort McAllister. This was also the original location of the mortar, which had to be removed because it damaged the surrounding earthworks when fired. The sally port allowed easy access for supply wagons and heavy guns to the interior of the fort. During Sherman's assault on December 13, 1864, the sally port was filled in by branches and brush to slow down the enemy. However, this was one of the first locations that Federal forces were able to break through. The battlefield. What appears to be a heavy forest today had been a large field for most of the war. The area before you was the location of General Hazen's frontal assault on the fort, in which several thousand men marched straight into enemy fire from the Confederate defenders. Perhaps the fort's most controversial defense was the addition of mines placed in the open field, which inflicted heavy casualties on the Federals. The soldiers of both sides endured 15 minutes of countless rifle rounds and deafening explosions before capturing the fort. Used heavily during the bombardment of February 1, 1863, continuous fire from the mortar caused the platform to collapse and the mortar was slightly displaced. Rather than abandon the piece, the Confederates continued to fire it for the duration of the bombardment. During the final attack by Sherman's troops on December 13, 1864, several infantry regiments advanced along the shore of the river during ebb tide, bypassing the palisades, and attempted to scale the mounds under heavy fire. According to accounts of both commanders, Major Anderson and General Hazen, the 70th Ohio were the first to enter the fort and place their flag. The sheer amount of Federals climbing the mounds on every side forced many of the remaining Confederates to retreat into the bomb room, where they were eventually pulled out by the enemy and forced to surrender.
We just talked to the ranger, and each one of those buildings is one cottage. It has 2 bedrooms.
With 2 queen-size beds in each one and private bath.
Yeah.
So you could put up to 8 people.
Yeah. And it's got a fireplace inside. The ones in the back where the handicap one was is a little smaller and they're older, but still the size of those things, you think about a cabin in the state park, it's a little small
awesome.
thing.
Yeah. They're also fully stocked, all the bedding, kitchen gear, everything you would need. So all you would need to bring is your clothes and your groceries.
Yeah. And when I was looking through the brochure on this park, the campsite's full hookups was $42. These are $170, I believe, a night.
But if you share that with a family, that's only, what's half a month, say, $85 a night. I mean, you can't get a luxury hotel for that.
Nope. And isolation.
And the privacy.
What you're overlooking out here.
The marsh.
It's and each of the porches are enclosed, so the bugs are out. That would be the way to go. Go camping in this area, and it's beautiful. All you gotta do is bring your groceries. Yay! Zoomed in, you can see those cottages. It looks a little creepy from this side. There's all the moss and the trees and the mud and the water and all that kind of stuff. But that circle and where we were just walking, not creepy at all. There's a playground in that area. Those covered porches overlook this whole open area, so it's a nice evening. Sit in the back, have a beer. Oh, by the way, you can have alcohol in your site, but you can't walk around with it. So you can still have alcohol on your porch. All right, so we were walking the other direction towards the fort, and this was full of water. It was around noon-ish. And now we're walking back, and it's 2:15, 2:16, something like that, and it's just down to a trickle. We were talking about kayaking in that, and we would have been stuck upstream because the tide went down. There's something in the water right there, pretty big, fish-wise. You can see it's making a little wave. He's like, I'm getting out of here. Oh,
it stuck its head up.
a school of fish. Like, let's get out of here, man. Yeah, this was water up to the edge here. Looks like somebody just couldn't help themselves. The litter threw a can overboard. But yeah, it would have been deep enough for kayaking. Not anymore. This is the other side of the road, but this is all full of water. Water gone. It would have been fun to see it recede. All right, this is the dock. You can put in your boats. There's some rental kayaks, paddle boards, canoes. Put your boat in here. The water is really low right now. It's really muddy. The water is coming out towards us, emptying those channels we were at earlier where we could see where the water had gone down so much. But I guess you could still kayak through here and not get lost or get stuck. Love these chairs. They're all in the throughout the park. Come and sit, enjoy the sunset or the sunrise, depending on where you're sitting. Here's another one. There's the rules. I don't know if I would swim from here. These guys would rise up and lower based on the water coming and going with the tides. It's a pretty long boat dock. Finally got some fairly decent weather. We got to walk around Fort McAllister, actual fort, historical site. It's quite moving to think about all the people that fought and died in that area. Some of the stories are pretty graphic, but also thinking about the division of American people and how the country was broken and split back then as it is today. This makes me think and wonder how we're going to recover, come back from such division. Just a thought. Just enjoying some of the sunshine. Really love, and I've probably said this several times already, love the long stringy moss in the trees. Very Georgia feeling. It's damp, humid. The weather is about 75-ish. Going to get up to 80 today. Hey, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe.